loosening up. I did see people come through, even from Texas. Amarillo is a hot spot right now. And so I'm not sure whether even when we open permanently and we just accept people getting sick and dying, or we'll close again. But I mean, I think for planning's sake, this year is gone. And I'm not sure everybody will agree with me. But this year is gonna, it's gonna be repeated. It's the last year. All of our planning should be for 2021. That's the planning that we should be doing, long-term planning. If we have a big event, we really wanted to do. I know it's in here. We really wanted to do a film festival. I really, would push that we keep planning it, but plan it for October 2021. That's the type of conversation we need to be having. Yep, we're going to have pretty bad revenue now. In between the time, as far as revenue, I think it's better than you think. I don't think it's 25%, but I think it's better than you think, because essential services didn't stop. So as you can see in town, people are still working on the road. The hospital is still going. All that housing still needs to happen under the rules. I mean, they still need a place to. These workers still need a place to stay for their temporary housing. So they are staying in hotels. So that there's revenue there that I could say that's left.
Okay, so if everyone is good with the financials, and then we can move to the recovery effort. And I'd like to let you know that we do have Georgina is on with us, and Sean is back. So,
hi, Georgina. Maybe one related caveat, since the revenue is anticipated to be sketchy for the foreseeable future, we should increase the reserve percentage. Because right now at 10% reserves, you're going to go through that in a month, and I don't think that gives you any kind of security at all. I think it should be more like even 25% that we just don't spend or not commit. Because just to keep the visitor center open, we're going to go through our reserves in no time.
Right. I think that's a great idea there to do. I know it's been larger in the past, but in the good times we've slowly eroded that, and I guess I'm going to bring it back.
I would suggest a 25% hold on the funds that we have. I don't know if you need that in the form of a motion, but 10% seems wildly inadequate to me.
I would agree. I think we're required to do 1 month's reserves, and we're trying to hit three months for the general fund.
Okay, so I'll put that in the form of a motion, Kritik, and Charles, that we adjust our reserves to 25%.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Shauna Sandoval?
Yes.
Georgina Ortega Angel?
hold on, her mic's. Go ahead, Georgina, your mic was muted.
I'm going to sustain because I came in toward the end of this conversation, so I'm not sure, other than what I heard as a 25% instead of a 10% on the I believe it's a reserve that you're talking about. So I'm not going to vote on that because I'm not real clear at what the conversation is right now, because I came in late.
Gabriel Garcia?
Yes.
And Alan Akefield?
Yes.
So we have a first from Board Member Alfold, a second from Gabe. Motion does carry.
Okay, and my mistake, Georgina. I did. But I realized you came late into it. I should have. I keep forgetting to make sure to have discussion before the roll call, so I'll try to do that from here on out.
Okay, thank you.
So, Bill, if you wanted to have that discussion on the recovery, other than that, we can start the presentations. There are no, I remind the board, there is no items to vote on. They are strictly for presentations only.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
Because I came in at least 18 minutes late, what was discussed? Can I get a real quick summary on what was discussed already?
We simply went through the approval of the agenda, approval of the minutes, and the finance report. The finance report stands at, we have an available balance of $155,966.61. That's available to the board for your discretion, and that is where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if the city manager or Director Henderson would like to talk any more about the recovery.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a discussion we need to have. So look, we have the financials in front of us. We just made, we need to stretch this out for a while. The revenue is going to happen. So we need to move the right direction to get 1% reserves. Again, looking at the rest of the agenda, I need to ask everyone that, are we planning or think that may or may not happen going forward? And at what strength would they be? Or can we plan for long term and plan for 2021 event or any of those things here that we're looking at in the packet, that in the meantime we can execute on what it's, what's important to us and what's not. That needs to be talked over. From what I see, some of these things, I think they could wait. We might. I mean, I don't think that they would be well spent right now, and we might not even have the funds for it. But there are a few things here that we can build on, and it's something that we could use for the next year. So I wanted to get the thoughts of the board on the overall strategic thinking of what we're talking about. Are we still talking about, hey, we're going to open up and try to do this right now? It's a stimulus and we're trying to recover, or are we strategically thinking long-term for next year?
Honestly, looking at the news, I just read an article today that in Germany, they relaxed a lot of the regulations, and their cases tripled like in 24 hours. And so other countries are already seeing a second wave happening, which are putting them back in lockdown. And that's something that we need to be prepared for of happening here. Good thing northeastern New Mexico is not being hit so hard, our location. But sometimes I just get a feeling like this year has pretty much is a failed year with what's going on. And I think it is very important to ask ourselves, do we spend a little bit this year to do what little we can, or do we prolong it till next year? I'm not sure. It just, it's, I don't know if the curve is flattened enough for us to think that we can continue forward with any events this year. I'm not sure about it.
I am in the same feeling as you. I really think we have to be more on the cautious of safety for the people that are here, because our medical facilities cannot handle anything really. And everybody, whoever gets sick, has to be transported. which is going to put a big burden on families here to transport people. And I would rather us just postpone as much as possible until the 2021 and make sure that we have a nice, healthy starting budget, because I really don't feel comfortable putting anybody's families in jeopardy. So that's my take on it also.
We're still on the information gathering stage here.
Right. And that's my information. That's my feedback on how I feel about gathering people as big events or even medium events. I mean, even going to the grocery store is a challenge. So, and people are not wearing masks. You go out there, they're not wearing masks. I'm 64 years old. My husband's 83. We are the ones that are going to get hit hard. I do not like the feel of being, I don't even go out in my yard. I stay in my compound.
You know, Kritik, maybe we could go just through the agenda, because many of these events are going to be withdrawn by the organizations themselves.
Right. That's what I wanted to get to, is if I think we could go through them one by one or discuss, or we could decide who I think these points. We can go through each one. I mean, I know you got 116 packet. So I didn't know whether we wanted to focus on moving on, or focus on things that may or may not happen. There's quite a bit in here. And so we could focus on what we think we can get done and move forward. But we can go through each one of these. I mean, it's on the agenda, so we can't, unless we vote to table it, we can go through each one.
Kritik, if we, since we established a 25% reserve rate, that drops the total down to 130.
Right.
Kritik, since we've had this discussion about what we're planning for the rest of the year, maybe Mr. Hendrickson can talk a little bit about that, because we are considering tentatively, we're planning on canceling the fiestas and motorcycle rally. I think that's a formal action will happen at the next council meeting, or we'll be able to read what they want to do. But we are looking at some fall events, and so maybe September, October. So maybe Bill can talk a little bit about that.
So, part of our thought process, because we can't have the large gatherings, exactly what Dr. Taylor stated, that 4th of July and the fiestas, as well as the motorcycle rally, would be canceled and or delayed to a later date. We are going to put some thought behind, what could possibly happen come September or October. And we would like to, use a lot of the ideas for all those events, coming out party, let's call it that, at some point in time. And of course, who knows what's going to happen if there's a second go around on the virus as well. So, but anyway, our thought process is to do something at a point that, when it is safe to do it, bring these things back, so since we wouldn't be spending money on fireworks over the 4th, we can work agreements with the suppliers to, hey, suppose we push it out to September, October, those type of ideas. How much money that would take at that point in time, we haven't really figured that out yet.
I mean, I think
and our recommendation was going to be that if we do look into print advertising based on, or media digital advertising based on the New Mexico True capability of matching 2-to-1, we could put some monies into marketing the community, not specific events for the near future. And of course, that would be something that the committee would have to decide how much and where. But those, I don't know how in concrete those dates are going to be for New Mexico True, but obviously there's application deadlines and submittal deadlines into June. So there'll probably be some flexibility, I would think, but
Right.
that's something else we need to think about.
Yeah, is there any information on it? I would figure some of these deadlines would kind of be moved because I figured the rest of the state would have the same issue on COVID. They're not able to meet these dates. Have you heard anything about that?
Not specifically, not yet. We can ask.
Okay.
The deadline for New Mexico True is May 22nd for the next fiscal year funding.
What is it, 9/20 what?
No, May 22nd.
Oh, May. It's just.
So there is just time if y'all recommend today for it to go to council before the 22nd and secure up to 90,000 from New Mexico True.
Recognizing though with that the state revenue is in free fall. So monies that may have been available 2 months ago are not going to be available going forward. I still think, Kritik, that we should just go through the agenda. Any event that's happening in the next couple of months, obviously, will have to be postponed. Part of the statewide strategy is that instead of just canceling events, see if you can reschedule or restructure them. So maybe instead of doing the fiestas in July, you do them in September or October. Maybe instead of doing a motorcycle rally, you can still do a parade in cars. There are things that you can do in a safe social distancing way. For example, the drive-in theater is probably going to open. So a seated theater probably can't open, but a drive-in can. So it really is incumbent upon the organizations who have events on the calendar to see and to come to us and say, we think we can do these events safely because of A, B, and C, whatever it is that they propose. And we respond to that, or reschedule the event to whatever date, and we respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's feasible. I think it's feasible if everything works out. Then yeah, instead of canceling it, we move it, and we spend time on that. But I think a lot of cities are struggling with the same issue. Is this going to work? We're only going to know when everything starts opening up and things are loosened up, what's going to happen. Cases blow up, people die. I mean, our hospitals are over. I mean, we're not even talking about an event. So until we have strong solid evidence that we're not going back into this thing, how do we plan for it? And whether that's a good use of our time or not. And that's why I suggested next year. But I know, hey, we can try it. We could try it for the fall. But I think these fall events, if this thing gets bad, I don't think they're in the picture either. New Mexico has done a good job, but the other states haven't. And so I've already said for Best Western that's open, I mean, I'm seeing traffic coming from Texas and these hot spots. Amarillo is blowing up right now, and I have people traveling from Amarillo. So we could say, okay, we'll just ignore it, and we can have our events anyways and move forward. Or we could say, let's plan for next year.
I guess what I'm saying, Kritik, is some of these events will be self-selected and some can be restructured. So
Okay.
it seems unlikely to me that something like the motorcycle rally can happen in a safe way. There can't be vendors around the plaza, anything like that. But
Right.
it might be possible to do something like People's Fair, still have a gathering if it was completely restructured. So you think about more space. It's the same thing with dining, right? Maybe you don't have enough space inside to dine, but maybe you do if you can serve people in the parking lot or on the sidewalk or something else. So it's a question for each of these events is, can they be rethought in such a way that they or something like them can still happen?
How are you going to have people not touch items on People's Fair? Yeah, they might be wearing a mask, but they're going to be touching items, and that's
Howard,
contaminating.
people touch items at Walmart too. I mean,
Yeah, but that's out of this. They have to.
If we do the People's Fair, there would have to be a serious regulation, and everyone would have to follow it. I mean, there would have to be some sort of public post to tell them you can't touch anything, that you can't get like within 5 feet of the tables. There would have to be maybe some sort of taping around these tables. You would have to look at the items from a distance. Maybe people would have to pay with a card and not cash. Everyone would have to have a Square on their phone. And everyone would have to wear masks at the event. If we do go for that, because again, this is at the end of the summer when they're hoping that the heat will eradicate most of the virus on the surface or outside. So the People's Fair, I can see it being restructured, but definitely highly regulated. And of course, we'd have to hope that people listen to what we tell them and follow the rules, whatever rules we set out.
I think those are all good points, Gabe. And remember, though, that, for example, in People's Fair, the Arts Council isn't asking us whether or not they can have the People's Fair. They're asking us for money to support the event.
Yeah.
So our leverage is simply to say, okay, if we decide to do that, we'll give you money under these conditions. If you want money from us, these are the things you have to do.
Right. I think that'd be a good way to go. And look, the money that we give and the way it's used has to be changed as well. If a good portion of what they're using is in print, and where that goes, and it's not accessible to people, then it's wasted money. So, for example, I know for a good majority of the hotel chains, including Best Western and they're asking me to remove all collateral from the rooms, all collateral from the front desk, anything that multiple people can touch. So that means I can't put the visitor's guide on my desk, easily accessible to the public. I can't put rec cards. I can't put them in the rooms. Everything in the room is gone. No pads, anything that you're about to invest. We missed it on the last meeting, but there was an ad to place in books in hotel rooms. That book I would have to remove. I mean, if it was actually last year. So that money is going to waste and there's no answer for how long into the future. I'm guessing next year that these things would be able to come back. You're going to be seeing it soon. I mean, the hotel industry is going to change. Everything that I've ordered is on back order, but they're asking us to fog each and every room after checkout. So again, just to make it short, things in hotel rooms is probably a bad idea. Also, at the various visitor centers throughout the state, I'm guessing they're going to arrive at the same idea, is that they're going to start pulling at these different areas at the visitors centers, actual materials that people can take as they walk in and out. They'll have to rethink that idea. So what us going forward and getting smarter is we need to finally enter into the digital age. Our budget needs to reflect that, and our budgets never reflected that. If you look at the majority of our spending, the digital portion of it is on the bottom. And I think it's unheard of in 2020. And if we're speaking of, hey, we'll give you money, but under this criteria, we need to start saying that about digital marketing. We've all been at home sitting in front of screens, and you see ad after ad after ad, and that could say Las Vegas is New Mexico true, right? We've missed those opportunities. Even though the roads are closed right now before we open up, all of that marketing could have continued online and for pennies on the dollar to what we're doing with print and billboard and so on. I'm not saying those things are important. I'm saying that they're too big of a portion of the budget. So as a Lodgers Tax Board, we could start focusing on turning this around and reorienting our budget to a digital marketing campaign. We need to do this. It needs to be a bigger portion. That needs to be part of the planning.
Does someone else have anything to say about that?
Plenty. When you look at some of the other both natural resources and true assets of both Las Vegas and northern New Mexico, there is an enormous amount of content, that digital content that can be marketed effectively to begin building demand for visitors and tourists going forward. For example, the Santa Fe Trail, the Wild West in preparation for the film commission, the incredible nature and hikes, outfitters. There's just an enormous amount of destination kind of events as well as experiential, that digital can be effective in setting the groundwork without the cost of the physical event taking place, but we start building demand for future when things start opening up. And that's all about content, and it's all about getting our story out. Digital is the way to do that. And while we're in a period where we can't physically connect, we're doing it right now on Zoom. There are multiple ways that we could create virtual events within the city using technology in really creative ways. And I would encourage, and I would offer to participate in setting up a committee or a subcommittee for exploring unique, innovative ways to use virtual to begin not only marketing Las Vegas, but looking and thinking about some creative ways to do virtual events that can keep us in front of the public and build demand for the future.
If I could piggyback off of that, he has a good point there, because I attend a lot of these virtual events all the time. You can have virtual conferences, you can have virtual events. I mean, there's so many things that we could do, and we can start incorporating this new technology into Las Vegas. And I got to say, this is the best meeting yet, because you guys know how much I love digital media. But we can really take advantage of this new technology to be able to do all these great things, and hopefully not only help our organizations, the community, but also the businesses, because they can catch on to this and learn ways to use it to incorporate into their businesses to help those as well.
Question for Frank. Frank, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The question I have about digital events is, how do they generate revenue for our town and for our businesses?
There's the event has to have a value proposition to the participant. There are several virtual events going on, in concerts, for example, all over the country, all over the world, that have paywalls on them. And while those paywalls, can't be prohibitive, a $5 or $10 donate or click a button is one way to at least get some revenue where there wasn't any before. A few days ago, there was a virtual concert for Northern New Mexico. Had Lone Pinon headlined it. A number of Northern New Mexico musicians with some marketing and promotion. Those can be paywall type events, no different than having it over at the plaza and listening to the band. It's not as unique, but it also wouldn't be as costly to execute, and that can be reflected in the paywall.
And I know it would be successful because when we 2 years ago, first launched our live videos on Facebook, for example, the mariachis got 60,000 views off of one video. So we have proof that this stuff would work.
The other thing it opens an opportunity is for bringing both Highland and Luna and the schools together along with local artists on beginning to develop the digital content that we need to be able to promote in all these other channels. And this is a good window to spend some of the time, and some of us have energy that needs to be released. It's a good time to begin building that digital library for promoting Las Vegas and Northern New Mexico.
And it's also along the lines of the state tourism, as we've been having meetings with the state tourism department. And it's something that they've also just suggested is that people try to take advantage of the digital as much as they can.
So Virginia, when we're talking about New Mexico 2 grants and so on, those monies. So I mean, we always agree that hey, we want to double our money, and we always want the matching funds. But I mean, we also, the board also would like some control on how that's spent, right? So as long as they're under New Mexico True guidelines, just because the board matched doesn't mean that we lose control of how that matching money is spent, right?
Right. And that's something that we will bring up during the presentation, as well as how we want to have more input from you guys as well on that selection of what we get for that grant process. And so this year it's a 2-to-1 match instead of a 1-to-1 match, if you choose a recovery package.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to exhaust this discussion before. We can go through it one, but if there's no more discussion, we can go through this. We can go forward with the agenda and go through this one by one. Okay, moving forward.
Where are we right now, Kritek? Are we going to be on item number 3? That's the first one that hasn't been scratched.
I think he's talking, but you're muted, Kritek.
Yeah, Kritek, you're muted.
There we go. No, I see the Jack Johnson.
No, that was scratched.
Okay, so yeah, I don't. Okay. 1, 2.
Item number 3.
Presentation Las Vegas San Miguel Film Console.
Yes.
Okay. You might need to, like I said, in the copy that I got for the agenda, those items weren't scratched yet. But you might, from here on out, Bill, you might need to just say the ones that are still there.
No, that happened at the, on the agenda adjustment. At the beginning.
It didn't go out though. I guess it could have went to the website. Okay, so it's presentation Las Vegas San Miguel Film Council.
Hello, everyone. I'm representing the Las Vegas San Miguel Film Council. And just a quick bit of introduction. The Film Council is a group of, an informal group of business owners. We came together last August after a couple of city meetings regarding filming on the plaza and Bridge Street. And it became apparent to us that it was important for Las Vegas to promote itself more aggressively as a film tourism destination. And also part of our goal is to help Las Vegas enhance its appeal as a film production site. Just briefly, the members of the council, of the Film Council are Jane Lumsden from Semilla, Andy Kingsbury from Plaza Antiques, Joaquin Garofalo from JC's Pizza, Michael Peranto from Main Street, Cindy Collins from Main Street, and our newest member is Tim Combs, who has started Plaza Historia antique store on Bridge Street, where the old Fair department store was. So we started, our original proposal to the Lodgers Tax Board for the last meeting that was postponed originally was to be for support of a film festival that we're calling the Wildest of the Wild Westerns, which was to hopefully going to be a grand film festival and Western cultural event that we proposed for October 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I hope the board saw our business proposal for that. But in any case, we decided, when the COVID really hit, that it was going to be infeasible for us to hold the festival this year. So we've gone through a couple of iterations, and what we'd like to request support from the Lodgers Tax Committee for is some basic infrastructure work on film tourism. So I don't know if you're all familiar with this brochure, if you can see it. About 4 or 5 years ago, the city produced a Las Vegas film tour brochure when Lindsay Valdez was with community development. I think it was published in 2014. It's now gone out of print. And so we would like to revise it, enhance it, and put it back into print. And so that's one of the projects we'd like to propose to you today. We've also been in touch with Bill Hendrickson and his staff a couple of weeks ago. We found out that the city has an unpublished film tourism website that we would like to see get published. I think I see that Bill Hendrickson put that in the budget as a request from the city, so we want to support that request. We would also like to have some money to produce some billboard vinyls that have film tourism messaging on it for this summer and the fall, so that we can begin to brand Las Vegas as a great film tourism destination. And we think that's a fairly modest expense. And finally, we would like to ask your support for a Las Vegas Film Tourism Facebook page. Getting back to your point, Krutik, about digital marketing, we think we could build that page quite rapidly and get some real interest in the community and for our film festival that we hope to have in 2021. So that's basically our request. Maybe $7,000 or so that would cover all of those projects.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so just to be clear, so are you continuing to plan for this October, or are we talking about these are the things you want to do for next year?
No, the October festival is postponed.
Okay.
We have discussed internally the possibility of having a pop-up event, maybe in October if things calm down a little bit. We could have maybe a small little festival at the drive-in and around town. We'll just have to wait and see on that. We've also talked about maybe doing 2 festivals in 2021, one in the spring and the big one in the fall, just kind of building up to the event. But, we're on hold until the social distancing question gets more completely answered.
Okay. And so on the what you held up in your hand, that brochure, I'm sure that we could have a digital version of that brochure, right?
Yes, I think Bill and Virginia found the original electronic files in their computers. But it just needs to be upgraded and reprinted. So I think that could be a fairly easily done project.
Well, what if we don't reprint it and we just advertise where people can see it on their phone? Is there a need to have a piece of paper?
Well, I think that's a question. I think some people like to have a piece of paper, and not everyone is digitally proficient.
What about like a media package? Like print and web, and so it all is congruent with,
Right.
But I think it's a great idea to have all this like modernized and kind of put out there for, your organization. And
Well,
I think it's a great idea.
Advertise in the restaurant as well. It's easier to say, hey, follow this link or follow this short URL to see what we're talking about. So then you don't have like 100 brochures there. Like I said, on the hotel end of it, and I'm guessing it might start in the restaurants as well, right? As of right now. So for short term, I think print's a bad idea. The distribution points, each one is going to come to sort of the same idea for the short term. But I'm telling you what I know for hotels, that brochure I wouldn't be able to put in my lobby, and breakfast area is closed. I wouldn't be able to put it in the rooms. I wouldn't be able to deliver it. And so the efficiency of delivering is what I'm talking about. Print, it's not cheap. So we need to be really make it count if that's, we need to be able to figure out whether it's working or not. Trackability. Now, if it was digital, we could see how many people looked at that brochure and how popular it is. We need to be able to see if things are working and not just have a general, lodger's tax is going up, it must be working, right? We need to have more data collection saying what's working, what's not, what's true and what's not.
I don't think we're against what you guys are saying. I think we would like to have the best possible platform to get this information out to people who visit our town.
Right. So I think there's a way to do it. And I know we just need to make the push. Later on in this agenda, there's somebody going to make a presentation on an app. Maybe something like this can be incorporated into the app. Okay. And prior meetings, I mentioned, that our surrounding, cities that promote tourism, Taos and Santa Fe, heck, any, Tombstone, Arizona, all those things of how much online use they have. And it does coordinate with some print. But it's a massive campaign online. And that's the way I talked about the visitor's guide, is that, okay, we're trying to do this massive printing, but we haven't taken advantage of how did we maximize the online presence when we could reach millions. We're talking about thousands when we could be talking about millions online if we actually focused on it. From visitor's guide to your brochure, we just got to open our minds a little bit on how we would get it done.
Krutik, my mind is open. My concerns are more about the technical capacity of disseminating this information, who manages that and how it's done, and is the city the best way to do that, or is some outside agency the best way to do that?
That's a discussion that I've been wanting to have with this board. We've tried in the past for an entity to be that entity where you could come up with an idea and they would be able to do exactly that. It only worked for 1 year though. And right now, I wish I could, say that we could even talk about having an RFP for a marketing company to help us with that, but it doesn't look like we have much of a budget to work with to do that. The prior time we did do that, we had saved money. We were able to, because we spent very little in 1 year, we were able to double down into the second year and hire. In lieu of that, yes, I mean, the city would have to have a strong end too. I can tell you it's gotten a lot better within the last few weeks, and I'm hoping it gets stronger and stronger on the city end. But yeah, I mean, we would need to have leadership there too, so we can plan on what we want to get done. So if you want your brochure to be digitized, then yeah, we need to have an answer for where they would go, who they could connect with, and how it would be paid for, at least help to be paid for. So yes, that needs to be a discussion with the board moving forward.
Hey, Kritik, this is Alan. I agree on the importance of the general discussion, but we're in number 3 and what to do with the film festival or Elmo's request. I think that I agree with you. We can't put printed materials in guest rooms anymore, but people who do come to Las Vegas, they still would love to have something in their hand to walk around with. So you may have something behind your front desk, for example, and somebody could point to it and say, hey, can I get one of those film guides? And to have that thing in your hand, to Elmo's point, is far more useful and memorable than somebody just having it on their phone. So to Shauna's point, I think being able to work in multiple modalities is a really good idea. And I'm sure that Elmo would be open to that. I think the idea of printing that guide is really useful, and having it available digitally is really useful. The question before us now is, do we want to give them some money to do that? And do we want to tell them print or digital or neither?
Well, and I think you really put together a really beautiful packet for the whole film festival, and I really like reading all parts of it, and yeah, just condensing that information into like a brochure online, like all that. It's going to be really good. I think I like it a lot. So
I think everybody in this room has their smartphone, and it's not even the cell phone, their smartphone sitting on their table right now. That's a walking brochure. I agree. Yeah, we would like to have some print, but we have two things happening: COVID and our budget. So what I'm asking is that going forward, if we focus on the digital portion, and it's been lacking for what we do overall, we could still get this done. So for this, we just need to overcome the technical hurdle, which I don't think it's a big hurdle, of digitizing this brochure. And then for all of our training on how we could send them to go see that brochure. But that would work with the rest of our online campaign. Facebook, social media, everyone can point to this link about, go look at this brochure. And it's not just somebody that came in and picked it up. It's somebody that was in New York and said, whoa, what did this, what's this about? Okay, that kind of exposure. I mean, and I think again, part 3, we can track it. We can track how many people saw that brochure. So I don't want to give money and then we end up doing the same things over and over again. So we'll give money and it ends up being a printed thing at the end. With limited money and what's going on, I think this is the great time to really gear into moving into a digital space here. So for the different things that we do and how we want to market right now, our focus needs to be on that digital spot of it. And everybody else is doing this. People with much larger budgets, yeah, they have the luxury to still print things and do some of these expensive things. But with people that don't, I mean, New Mexico True is actually a very good online thing. It's about images, period. Okay.
Kritik, I think that's right, but we're still on the first item of many. So make a proposal. Like, do you have a suggestion, Kritik, or Elmo? Do you have a suggestion for how to proceed? I think the majority of us are going to agree that digital is the future. The question is, how do we get there on a specific proposal?
Well, I think we're going to need some budget to go into both platforms, both print and digital. So, you know, we're willing to work with the city staff to do. I think we're going to need a budget.
I think this is a great step for this project and a really good way to get started. And, you know, in lieu of the actual event, I think it's something that I know we would use a lot at the restaurant, like to show people about the movies. And I don't know, I think it's good.
Hey, I have a question for you, Elmo, or more like a statement. It sounds like you need another person on your committee who understands how to create digital content as well as print content. Have you looked for anybody, or do you have anybody in mind?
Gabe, do you have?
I would like to join your committee to tackle that very issue, because then we can find out what it actually costs to do digital stuff, how much it costs to run Facebook ads, to start a YouTube channel, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
To get that out there in the digital world and on people's cell phones.
Well,
yeah, it's a great idea, Gabe.
So there's so many things that aren't. It's just some of it is just having that meeting and the know-how. So Gabe helping out or Sean helping out, but there's so much huge portion of the digital portion that we're not doing or maximizing. I'm not saying it's not absolutely being done, but a lot of those things are free. So that is free.
It doesn't cost, none of this will cost that much. And I think it's feasible for, you know, for this type of future event. And, you know, maybe it's a really good thing that you have a year to kind of get the word out there. And then it could really be something big that many, many people come, you know.
Right. So
can I make a point here? A couple points. One, because we're changing Elmo's presentation quite a bit, I think he probably would need to resubmit with these new ideas. But maybe we ought to jump forward agenda and listen to Frank Burskin's digital app. And that would probably tie into a lot of things that everybody's talking about here. You know, that's my thought process. If you agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I want to be really careful with this money right now. I'm not in the notion that we can execute on this right now. I think that we could do some homework and come back. And of course, on the next presentation, we can listen about the app there. But if Elmo, using the feedback from this meeting, I agree. I think if Elmo comes back, we're obviously having another special meeting. We can with the process thought through better, we can execute it at that time when we're ready to go. There's going to be several changes to what we do. So let's get through this meeting. If I could have a motion to table this and move to the next item, then we can move forward.
Kritik, you don't have to make a motion on that because you're just doing presentations on this time, so you can
Okay, it's
move to
not
the
an
next
action.
item. There's no approval or disapprovals at all in here.
Okay, so if I don't have any more discussion, let's move to the next item.
Thank you.
Thank you. all.
Thanks, Emma. And Bill, since I don't have the amended agenda, can you say which one?
Okay, well, that's item number 4, and that's the Arts Council,
All right, Arts Council.
People's Fair.
It's been interesting to hear you all consider the possibility of the People's Fair. Obviously, when we have been doing it for the last 42 years, the whole quarantine situation was not a problem, not an issue. I think that we could do a very good job at expanding the People's Fair to cover the park. Our date for the People's Fair this year is the same as always. The last weekend in August before Labor Day, which means it's August 29th, which is practically September. Now, we can't have this event if the city doesn't give us a permit for it. So if the city doesn't feel like they're going to give us permission to do the People's Fair, to have a big event in the park, that answers one question real fast. Then I'll withdraw that. I would like to add at this point that if we do lose the People's Fair, we are putting all of our galleries online right now. We are putting all of our shows that we're planning for the next several months. We're planning to put them online. And we could advertise those shows internationally. I know Christian Mayor has always talked about how fascinated Paris is with the Wild West and with the Southwest. And so I need to know if there's going to be an opportunity where I could say, hey, could we do digital and maybe a little print, but mostly digital kinds of advertising for our galleries online? Because I trust that no matter how digital we get, the plan is still ultimately for heads in beds and for people to come to Las Vegas and to fall in love with our architecture, our scenery, recreation, and our artists. And so if I put all of that together in a package, that's a totally different proposal than the one we brought to you. If you think that there's that we could do the People's Fair, we thought that we would give our vendors the widest possible opportunity to change their minds. So we're not even going to charge any fee if they should cancel at any point between now and then, or if the city cancels, or if the governor cancels. There's a lot of unknowns, but the closer we get to the event, the more expensive advertising is. And it's an important event for the local artists and craftspeople. It's an important event for the community. It'd be a great celebration of opening things up again, because people go for the family reunion aspect of it. And there is a lot of hugging. And we will certainly go around, put signs up everywhere that says social distancing is priority, and we'll remind people gracefully. But you know, you and I can't keep people safe. They have to keep themselves safe within certain, have to make some decisions to work with us on that. So we can do everything that was suggested. Those are all good ideas. I'd like to leave People's Fair on the table. I don't know what the governor's going to say on the 5th, but remember, this is August 29th. It's a long way from now. It's 2.5 months from now. All of June, all of July, and most of August. It's closer to 3 months. Somebody needs
So Susie, just to be clear, you guys still want to do this, and you still think you can do this in a community safe way?
At our last meeting, we agreed that we could do this safely. Again, it's outside, it's in August, it's a big park. We can rearrange all of our vendor spaces to put more space in between them. We cannot use the bleachers for the musicians and just let people put chairs in, their own chairs. And there are ways to do it, but it kind of depends on, regardless of what the lodger's tax is to advertise. If the city says no, then we don't have a People's Fair.
Right. That was going to be my next question to Bill. Is there a plan for the permits? Are events going to be allowable, or is that still in discussion going forward?
Well, we haven't thought about this one, hadn't gotten that far. We got ourselves basically through July. So, you know, right now, I think through the state's reopening plan for mid-July is, you know, no groups larger than 100. So how that's interpreted is an outside event. But we have to kind of look at it from, you know, that aspect. So I don't know if we can make a decision on that right now, per se. Susie, we'll probably have to talk to you and get a feel for a go, no-go type time frame. Okay. And then we can, you know, have that conversation.
Is the idea to closely match the city, or does the city have their own criteria in mind?
You broke up a little bit, but you know, we'd be going by the recommendations, if that's what you were saying.
Okay.
And part of that is also crowd control, if you want to think about it from the standpoint, you know, when we're talking about 4th of July fireworks and trying to control the population from not all going to 1 or 2 parking lots and having a big party and so forth. You know, if everybody stayed home and watched the fireworks from their home, there probably wouldn't be a big controversy about it, but I don't think we can expect that. And so, and
right. So
resources to control it. But, you know, the People's Fair is a little bit smaller venue, of course. And so, you know, we just need to discuss it and make sure of the options. It's like trying to open up the drive-in theater, you know, what procedures are going to be implemented to keep people apart. And so if we can meet all those type of things, we can probably satisfy it all.
Okay. So, I mean, my feeling is, I mean, there's quite a few that have put in a packet. I'm wondering if what we can do as Eskimo is to make the adjustments they need to. So if it's feasible to have the event or not, then we could evaluate it that way. So if they do have, I mean, things have changed since people have put their packet in. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity, considering the current conditions, that people can adjust what they want to do and then move forward.
Critic, this is Alan. Of the things on our agenda today, there's only a couple of them that could still happen. And
right. So I mean, look, the same thing for here. It's for me, it's similar to what Elmo's situation. So if there is a way to visually market it, let's do it. But right now, it's up in the air whether it's going to happen or not. So should we put money towards it? But we're having this discussion. We can move on to the next one until we have, you know, an actionable thing, unless you feel otherwise.
I think that we could do this on a contingent basis. You know, we could make a grant, obviously contingent upon the city giving them a permit to hold the event, and we could give them direction that marketing needs to be targeted digitally as much as possible. And I think the community is going to be in real need of having events that can enable them to get out and see each other, even within social distancing. So just for discussion purposes, I would move to approve this item.
Just a reminder to the board again, you guys are only seeing presentations today. There's no actual approval or disapproval. So if you do have requests or suggestions, you can give it to them. And then when they come back for the approval or disapproval part of it, they can represent those to you before you make your actual approval.
It sounds good.
So I guess that's what, I mean, Susie, had you gotten completely through? I know all this, we have your packet and we've read through it, but I mean, were you through with the presentation of, you know, obviously everybody knows what the People's Fair is, but were you through with your presentation?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Susie.
So in the special meeting, like I said, look, this discussions are important. What we can do now for the next special meeting is some of these items we can have approval or disapproval with the contingency, like you said, Alan, that this is actually approved. But look, in between that time, I'm not going to say it's wasted time, but it's information that we're going to have, and it's information that the state's going to have too. Okay, are we? Looks like we're going to open on the 15th, or not. We need us opening up and what that's going to be. We need that information so we can plan ahead going forward. I need to know, you know, as a business owner, are we going to be closing up again? I'd like to see what the impact is going to be when the whole country is open and what that feels like. And certainly we can, if everything is okay, then yeah, we can plan for things shorter into the future. But to me, it's easier to plan longer term when we have uncertainty like this in the short term. All right.
Crew Tech, item number 5 is the Rough Rider rally, and that's going to be canceled, as you know, for the July time period. Maybe it is something we can bring back later in the year again as part of the reopening event, maybe. So the next item, number 6, is Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance. Leah?
Okay, I'm back. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone. I'm the director of the Hermit's Peak Watershed Alliance and a representative for the Guyanus River Park Collaborative. And we've submitted a request for to install 8 park benches in the Guyanus River Park, as well as add 1 new interpretive sign. So this is an infrastructure request. It's not an event request. We're really lucky, and tomorrow we kick off the beginning of developing the construction drawings for the Guyanus River Park. And we're working with a landscape architect firm, Groundwork Studio in Albuquerque, Amy Bell, and the people at Main Street know Amy well. She's going to be working with us over the next 8 months to develop shovel-ready drawings to begin constructing the new park amenities in the Guyanus River Park. And we felt like it would be a great kickoff for the city to support putting in park benches. They're going to be very easy to cite, and we've instructed Amy Bell to go ahead as the first step of developing her construction drawings to cite park benches and trash cans. We're ready to order 5 trash cans. We already have 1 installed, and we would really hope that park benches would be the next step. That would be a way to really encourage people to spend more time in the park. There are no places to sit in the park right now that are comfortable and in strategic locations. So if we could kick off the park amenities in the with park benches funded by the city lodgers tax, we think that would be just an excellent beginning. The other part of the request was an additional interpretive sign. We have 2 interpretive signs that we've already installed in the park, and by June 30th, we will have another 5 that were funded by a variety of means. So that will allow us to have 7 interpretive signs, and then if this lodgers tax request went through, we would be able to add 1 more. Those interpretive signs describe a whole variety of things, from the river restoration work to the culture and history of the Guyanus River Park area. I guess that's kind of the extent of our request at this point. The Guyanus River Park revitalization work, we've estimated that budget to be about $6 million. And that takes us from Mills Avenue down to Prince Independence Street. And that restoration also includes the river restoration, wetlands, all of the park amenities, an amphitheater, a playground, etc. I guess maybe I should add one other thing, even though it's a little bit tenuous at this point, the state legislature did approve a $238,000 construction request from capital outlay. And I know those funds are probably subject to change right now, but that says that the state legislature is ready to jump forward with doing this revitalization work. And this, as a lodger's tax contribution, would be a really great way to start that. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if there's the $6 million allocation, that doesn't cover park benches? Like what exactly does
Okay, that $6 million is not an allocation. That's an estimated budget to do the entire river park. And the park benches are certainly part of that. But that's no allocation. That's the amount of money we need to raise to do this work.
Okay.
This lodger's tax request is part of that. Our request to the state legislature is part of that. Our grant proposals to the Environment Department for river stewardship, that's all part of this $6 million budget. So it's just an estimated budget. So we have some idea of what we're shooting for. Does that answer your question, Shauna?
Yeah, but I understood that that there was like millions given to the Guyanus River. Like, I just don't know what like ever came of that.
Okay, absolutely not. There have not been millions contributed to the Guyanus River Park at all. We had our first river restoration grant that we just completed, and that was $315,000. That's specific to river restoration work.
Okay.
That you saw on the ground. That's been spent on the river restoration. We have another $50,000 that is a potential, but that again is earmarked for river restoration. None of that has been earmarked for park amenity infrastructure.
Okay. So that infrastructure is funded through grants and.
Right.
Okay. I see. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure. Any other questions? Maybe I'll add that at this time when events are really tenuous, it's a really great time for us to just run forward as quickly and efficiently as we can to do some of the infrastructure work in the park so that when things do open up, we have a wonderful park for people to visit. It's a good time to be doing infrastructure work.
Tech, just so everybody knows that
22K and infrastructure
part of the budget is about 16,007. That's accounting for the %.
Oh, for the new reserve.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we do on the agenda, we have several other infrastructure requests. So going forward, we'll have to decide on how we'd like to do this. We obviously currently don't have the budget to execute on all of these infrastructure. But I really like, the idea of improving, and that was the whole point. We wanted to make sure we set aside money to make these improvements for tourism infrastructure. So I'm hoping we could get some of these going. We'll have to figure out, even if it's partial monies distributed, if we can do that.
And since we've requested 8 park benches and 1 interpretive sign, we could very simply dial that back and do some part of that. So at your discretion.
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, and I mean, are you? Is it on this topic or?
Yes, it's on this subject. I was just going to say that right now, and I walk the Riverwalk, and tons of people are using the park. So it would be great to have more benches, however many we could do. People are using the park because they're outside at this time.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion on this item?
Okay, the next item is the Friends of the City of Las Vegas Museum and E. Romero Firehouse and the Seiki Museum.
Hello, I'm Bob Mishler and with the Friends. And we are continuing with the E. Romero Museum project, which actually, as many of you remember, or some of you may, from 2009 it began. And with the Main Street initiative, it went through a number of iterations with funding and the New Mexico Fire Protection Grant provided money, P&M, lodger's tax, the National Trust, and the New Mexico Legislative Council has invested in it. And so so far there's been over $400,000 that the community and outside entities have put into the museum at this point. And from our perspective, we are coming to closure with it. And and I think Shane Flawless is also on. I see, I don't know if I don't see his picture yet, but the items that we have identified with Shane, who has been spearheading this project with and doing the legwork along with the Cabrini Martinez, the administrative director at the museum. And so we want to, at this point, there's some specific items that we have identified, getting some high resolution scanning for all the media that will be required in the museum, do some photo documentation, a slideshow, do some artifact preparation in order to not only for the exhibit, but also for preservation. And there's a little bit more design work, consultation that Shane feels that we need to do. And we also have acquired a number of artifacts, and we want to try to preserve them as best we can, following some, current museum practices, archiving practices. So what we're estimating there is it would be an infrastructure, again, as you mentioned, project that we're estimating at the $15,000. So that's what we're proposing that we try to achieve, and that can be done as near as we can tell. And Shane may have comments on some of the particulars on this, but we feel that could be done. At one time, we thought by summer. It may be maybe early fall at this point, since it's been delayed for a number of months. But so that's the proposal.
Yeah, Bob, and I mean, we made it, if it's decided, maybe we could do it in installments. I mean, if you got a smaller portion of what you're asking, you could still start executing on it. Is that?
We want to try to keep going on this, yes, and bring it to closure. And so, yes, that's certainly an option.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what we'll have to consider for a few of these infrastructure. I really want to get that money out there. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as big as I wanted it to be there.
Yeah.
But what we can come back with on the next meeting, because I know you've already presented this, so we'll have it as an action next time. But I think for each one of these, I think by the end of this meeting, we could discuss what we want to apply where, so we could have an agenda. But you can at least get going if we at least provide some funding right now, right? You could start scanning, start doing some of those things that you need to do.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Shane, did you want to add anything?
No. Well, I mean, sure. I'll just add that yes, all the activities that are in the mandate of this particular thing are all things that can be done, under the protocols of, our current situation. And yeah, they can be done in things that there's the intern that will be starting work at some point. And so I guess I just wanted to put in that, you know, work is progressing on the museum, and a lot of it can be done regardless of whether we're opening up or not. And I would like to see, I mean, the chief and I talk, and, you know, even though everything's in flux, it would be nice to see a museum ready to go for when we do get to open up. And whether that means a soft opening because we're still under quarantines, you know, waiting for a big event for when the city opens up, I think it'd be nice to have something to really, you know, jump into once the city does get to open up again. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to say that, and I'll go back to mute.
All right, any other questions?
Oh.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Sure.
Number 8 is the Las Vegas Historic Preservation and Connect Las Vegas. Frank?
Thanks for the opportunity to share a technological response to some of the that fits, I think, in with some of the comments and proposals today. The Connect Las Vegas is designed to create a mobile technology, a mobile application, and an infrastructure that can provide a single source of visitor, tourist-oriented information that's easily accessible on a phone, that's specific about what you can see, where you find it, how to get there, relative to any historic site, movie site, historical, cultural site, and having it available all in one simple to use platform. It's designed specifically for a tourist or a visitor walking through town. If they could download the app through a brochure that's at the hotels, at any retail environment, in the visitor's guide, download it. Either it can be downloaded in Android or an Apple iPhone. And it again is trying to organize content from all of the different organizations and the city that are tourist and visitor specific into one easy to navigate platform. And it's probably easiest. Can I share a screen? Let me try share screen.
Let me set it up for you.
Yeah, because it's easier just to give a brief glimpse of the application.
Not sure exactly how to do that. I think I have to make you a host.
Okay.
There you go.
So this, the application, this is on a test site. It's, I've been loading the content and organizing it for the last 3 or 4 months, just for the fun of it. This is, the application is live on a phone that's not public yet. But basically it's, from CCHP standpoint, there's an enormous amount of print content about historic sites, about historic people, about the culture. And my primary objective was to try to help move CCHP to a digital platform in order to share that information for visitors and tourists that are interested in the history of Las Vegas. But the application has such broad potential for so many other organizations. And this is an example for the Places with the Past home tour, which has just been canceled. the event can be on the mobile app with the one, you can buy the ticket online. Anything that's done on this app is analytics are extensive, so we know how long you were on the page. If you bought the ticket, we now have your email address, we have your phone number, we know where you came from. It provides information. This is an example. If we had this set up ahead in time, we could offer a virtual home tour for a slight fee and show the houses and have video and audio tours in place of a physical presence. So the application manages video, audio, text, image. It also provides it's loading slow because I'm online, but this is an example of drawing content that already exists. Matter of fact, this content came from a CCH brochure on historical tours. This is, this happens to be just stone buildings in Las Vegas. It provides a little history of the building. There's also an interactive map, uses Google Maps, that wherever I'm standing, I can pick any location within the entire application, and it'll give me walking and driving direction from where I am to any site that we've listed in the application. To tie in with what Elmo was talking about, again, not just cutting and pasting content that's available from various sources. It's very easy to leverage the content that the film group is working on and bring that to life for anyone interested in the movie industry in Las Vegas. We can have video clips of the movie, the stories of where it was shot in Las Vegas, all site specific. So if I want to visit where Red Dawn was filmed at, I simply go to Red Dawn and take the map, and it gives me walking and driving directions to that site. The challenge in in this sort of an application is gathering all of the content, which I loved when I got to see the Las Vegas film brochure. It has a lot of content that is easily transferred, cut and paste into the phone app. The phone app's purpose, though, is to allow a tourist to find where things are at, how to get there, and all of the sites are GPS coordinated. So it's basically trying to map out all of the possibilities that a tourist might be interested in. That can range from architecture. It can arrange. Here's one on the murals of Las Vegas, the movies, WPA sites, historic Hispanic locations, historical culture, the content that's in the Rough Rider, in the museum, the CCHP content, anything that has a site-specific application blends easily into this this downloadable app. And again, the intent here was to have a simple way that a consumer or a visitor could take a look, have a poster at your retail or hotel, and simply scan it and download the app, and now you've got all of that Las Vegas content in your hand.
That's very impressive, Frank.
And I want to impress in the old days, from a programming standpoint, creating something like that would be a monster of a project. In today's platform environment, using licensing a platform that's already designed specifically for tours and specifically for this purpose. The firm has applications all over the world. This is all they do. Part of the request from lodgers was to pay the one-time setup license, and then there's an annual license. Beyond that, everything is in our hands, and the majority of that content is cut and paste from existing data. That's why Elmo having the digital content from that brochure, boy, it's just, if I have the PDF, within an hour, I've got it on a mobile phone application. And that mobile application is updated on the fly. Anytime we add or change something, it immediately goes out to everybody that's downloaded that app. So you've got instant ability to update and inform. And the menu that appears is totally controlled by us as well. So that menu can be organized based upon what event or what we wanting to promote locally. If it's the Film Commission or Route 66, the Wild West, all of that can be fronted to be the primary focus of the application for whoever's in town. So it gives incredible dynamic ability to update. I keep coming back to the analytics. I like looking at the numbers behind it, and you can learn a lot about where we should be targeting content, who we should be targeting it to.
It also, Frank, it also covers, I mean, things like all the restaurants and their hours, or if they're having a special, or it can cover everything. I mean, it's super live. It's activated like every day.
And it also allows, the platform's really set up for sponsorship and advertising. When we introduced this to Las Vegas first, Leaping Deer Ranch held up his hand in the middle of the discussion and said, I want to sponsor the whole damn thing. How do I get to be the sponsor? So the ultimate model on this is a revenue based upon sponsorship and advertising, as well as grants for historical preservation and marketing historical sites. The initial cost is really boils down to buying the license and then start getting content cut and paste and loaded into the application.
So I mean, Frank. So let's say for example, like for Elmo's case for the brochure. I mean, basically we can turn it into an interactive brochure with GPS location. So even the image that they're looking at, we could tie it to where it's at, and so the visitor could go directly there. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, you one of the channels, one of the tours would be the Las Vegas movie tour, and when you open that up, it features a site-by-site location of every movie with directions to and information about what scene was shot at that specific site. Even the Red Dawn building blown up, which is now the mural, you could be standing in front of it and witness the scene that had that site as a feature while you're standing in front of it. The main thing, the technology is simple on this. From it's about the content, and if there's one thing about tourism, promoting tourism and visitors, and especially with regard to Las Vegas, we are loaded with incredible content that provides reason to come here. It's just been really, really hard to find it. And I think an application like this is one way that can draw all of our groups together into having site-specific content that anybody can access. It also has a side benefit of being an educational tool for our local schools to enlighten our own community about the incredible historical resources and stories that exist here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I really like it. Bill, I mean, what would you think of, because I mean, it's all the groups could use this app. This could be a citywide tourism app. So I was thinking, so if we help with the initial license, we would want to have it in the city's name then, right? It would be the property, the license would be the property of the city.
I think
we discussed that. You know, I think that's one of the things in the plan would have to be is, you know, who's maintaining it? Whose responsibility is that? And how do we get longevity out of that relationship? So that would have to be decided, you know, and that's probably one of the decisions, you know, if we're putting lodger's tax towards it, that would have to be made. And then put all the data in, right? And all that stuff.
Yeah, at present, and my participation in this is because of my involvement with CCHP. I've probably got 200 hours into it now. It's something that from CCHP standpoint, I'm responsible for getting that content in there, maintaining it, and keeping up with the software. Down the road, I think that you know, there's several different pathways that can go. I'm presenting here right now for CCHP, and in the motivation of trying to get CCHP content into a digital format so that history can be an attraction from a tourist standpoint. There are a lot of angles on it and tangents. With a license being purchased and the setup fee, that application that I showed on screen is live tomorrow and can constantly keep building. So there's not any barrier in getting into it. To your point, Bill, and Virginia too, there's some overlap. There's some opportunity to create synergy with what the city's already doing. It could fit into a city format. Lots of different ways. I'm just interested in getting it off the ground and getting the story started.
I think, I mean, if we plan this out, I mean, because with limited money, we don't want to be doing multiple licenses. So if we can figure out, and the best way I could think is that the city buys the license and gives permission to content providers to adjust the app. So working it out with Virginia and working out with Frank, we start creating the media that belongs to this app. But ultimately, the property, what's in it, and the license should belong to the city, so we don't have any issues. I'm not saying CCHP is going anywhere, but if there's an opportunity, again, if we're going to do it to bring all of us together, this app can do it. If we have the right instruction and how that's done going forward, we can even have an application process for that. So if we wanted to continue with even some of these events, we can figure out a process of how to get this content on there and going forward. But I think it's a great idea. It's that first step into going digital here. That on top of it being GPS. I mean, look, this turns into being a virtual physical tour now. I mean, you could, you know, it ties in with our wayfinding for what we're doing for the signs. I think this is a move we need to make. But Frank, is it platform independent, or it's not a web app? So whatever browser you use, you have to download the app.
Its full functionality is as a mobile app downloaded.
Mobile app downloaded. Okay.
What I was showing you on the share screen was a web version of it. There may be a way around that. The limitation on that web version was I didn't have real-time Google Maps integrated into the application, where on the phone it is. The other kind of cool thing, this is a beacon, and that application responds to the location of a beacon. These things cost $25 a piece. You stick them on any location, and when I walk by, or I can control the distance from how close you are to a beacon, and you'll get an alert on your phone that says, right over here is a specific location, or if a retailer wants to have a promotion to draw a visitor in, you put the beacons on property and or a sign, and it causes an alert, not just through GPS. So the technology behind this is right on the edge, and that's what's kind of fun about using a platform environment.
Well, I've seen it in a lot of conventions. So our hotel convention and so on, they use this, and they're able to create an app in a very short amount of time and use those sensors and things like you said. So people walking around in a convention have an app for the convention. So I've seen those around. So to be tied to the GPS is one step further. I like that. I like the ability to do that. So I'd like to see more of it. But again, my recommendation, if we move forward, I think it's a good investment by the city, as long as the city owns the license.
Dick, just a comment, I think whether the city owns it or not, I'd like to get our city attorney involved so that we draw up some kind of agreement on use, so that in later stages we don't end up with different administrations interpreting how this thing can be used. We have some kind of governance board or something on guiding us.
In the issue of sponsorship, selling sponsorship and advertising probably has to be defined between city and nonprofit or organization. That's probably a little messy too. And I want to stress, CCHP was an avenue to get the technology in front. I just think it belongs in the city so that everybody has access to it. But whatever way we can get it started, I'd love to try to get it going.
And this is Scott Aaron, the city attorney. If you guys have any resources or know of any other cities who have done this, let me know who they are, and I'll contact either that municipality or get online and try to figure out what contracts or what agreements, what governing rules they have in place regarding this, so we can try to get out on the front end of it.
If I get your contact information, I'll send you a number of locations, private or public institutions that are using it.
Hey, Frank, I'll hook you guys up.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Good deal. Any more discussion on this?
I have a question, Frank. If everything goes well, how soon do you think it could be active?
As soon as the license is paid, it's live and downloadable anywhere. So for example, and that's why.
Can you switch power back to me? I have to get it from Frank. I'll get Frank to do it.
When you were talking about.
Excuse me, Frank.
Yes.
Frank, can you go ahead and switch host back to Chuck?
And how do I do that?
It's on, just click on him, and he's got a little button there, and you click on it, says make him host.
Okay. Who should I transfer to?
Charles Gray, go.
Where did Chuck?
Should be on there somewhere with the yellow shirt.
Oh, there you go. Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So Elmo, if for example, you were targeting October, that's easy to get the content, the relevant content into that application. Yeah, I mean, it literally is cutting and pasting. If the content's there, the only thing that takes a little time is to, for site specific, is you have to get the longitude, latitude of that exact point and put it into the application, but that's not hard to do either.
Great, thanks, Frank.
All right. Thanks, Frank. And I really do think, look, I mean, it seems like from what I'm looking on it and going forward, it seems to be a platform that's quick to execute on. So for Elmo, I mean, the delay would be if we didn't have content to put on it, we needed to create it. But if we already have those in place, what Frank said, I mean, a lot of it could be copy and paste, but it brings a new dimension to what we're pasting, like that brochure and so on, because it's going to be more interactive. It's not just an address on the page. It's actually pinning it into maps, and you could walk right to the places for the film, for example. So I think it's just how quickly we can get together and add things to the app, right?
Well, we have a lot of content, but the extra dimensions of sound and visual are very exciting.
I think we can get together and work those through.
Hey, crew check.
Yes.
So a lot of what you talk about is like putting a total media package together, and this app is absolutely great idea, what we need. But if we hired a design firm, wouldn't they kind of have like, I don't want to have all these things going and then we go and put someone in charge of it, and then we have these things that we fund all over the place. That would be my only question.
Right. So I mean, the idea is, and that's why we're exploring the idea of the city having the license, and we'd figure out who would have control of it. If we did end up saving some money and being able to afford a firm, we would of course be able to give permission to use this platform,
Okay.
the content on there for whatever they create for us. For the money that we're talking about, I'm okay with it because it has the ability. I mean, every organization in town can be put into this app.
Mm-hmm.
If you distribute that, that's a pretty good investment. And it's a one-time. I like that it's the one-time deal. At first, we'd have to look at what the maintenance cost would be, but then those could be divided over everyone that uses that app. But this is one avenue. We're not quite at the phase of. I mean, right now we're in COVID phase. Hopefully, we could get to the phase of planning if we can have a marketing company or not.
Sure.
But this is one way, at least everyone could be on the same page.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. If there's no more discussion, we can move on to the next item.
The next item is Virginia, our websites and marketing software, the 2 items. Did she disappear?
No.
She was just there. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Hold on. Did I get in there? Okay. Sorry, guys. got lost on there for a minute. So we're on the website. Is that what we're discussing?
Yeah, the website and the 2 websites and the marketing software.
Okay, so what we did is we put in, because of course, we're running everything through lodger's tax. So what this is the tourism website, the visitlasvegasnm.com, that we've been using throughout the last few years, what New Mexico True and any other type of marketing that we're doing. Also, many of the organizations have been using that particular website as well, so that we all connect together in a sense. I did put an amount in here for the tourism website and the film tourism website, because at one time we did have it published. It is unpublished right now, and that price does include that. And I believe these are for 2 years for both the sites, and that's the combination of the cost. However, if we do end up handing over the film tourism site to somebody else, they would include those costs, and we would put back the amount for that. And that's on the 2 tourism sites, if you guys have any questions or anything on those. Oh, and one last thing I did forget to mention. The website has really grown. We went from, when the firm had it, it had a $0 to $100 value on it. I checked it today, and we have an $80,000 value on it. So that's how much we've increased that production on that website.
Wow, it's a lot.
On the visit, on the visit Las Vegas NM website. Is that the website? Or the
Yes, that's the website.
Okay, and you said 80,000, and is that how'd you come up with the?
That's a value. So through we have everything set through Google. Our analytics, everything is set through there. And so what we do is, in order to create values, you got to create goals within Google. And so we've created goals like, for example, every time someone visits, if they stay on 30 seconds and visit more than 2 pages, then we get value for that. If they don't, of course, it's a 0 value because they didn't meet those goals. So meeting those goals, we've hit up to an $80,000 value.
Okay, so going forward, so you'll be able to track anything we put on the site, right, as a separate page. So if we put Elmo's brochure there, we would be able to track the hits on his brochure through there as well, right?
Right, exactly. It's just, so when I do, for example, a report, we have to do our monthly reports, and I always include there those analytics, and part of it includes the top 5 pages that everybody's visited for the month and for the year. So for example, this month, most people are visiting the COVID information page, because we did put it through there. They're visiting the drive-in, and of course the restaurants. Those are the 3 top pages that they're visiting at this time. But yes, we can track any kind of information through that website.
Do you think we can have a report from you on these numbers? Into our package, but I think it would. I mean, and Bill, I think it'd be a great idea for our meetings, or at least the quarterly ones, that you provide us updates on these analytics. And I'd like to do it for a good portion of the things that we do. We're not only what I had in mind is we're not only giving out money, we need to have reports back. How did we do? And so for things like this, for even for the even the little investment that we make, we can say that. We can say at least we have results for it. So we have so many hits, or we have something coming from analytics. That's something that we can go with to decide what we do going forward. Do we want to invest more? Do we want to invest less? This isn't working. Those are the type of things that we need to have within the meeting. So I expected to have it in each lodger's tax meeting, so we can not only just talk about it or dole out money, but we could review it.
And we could do, sorry, Ben, we can do that for the social media as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that, and look, we also want to know what, if we have something that's exploding, we want to hear it first so we can execute it on a wider way. So if you come to us and say, man, we this thing's going viral, this one post that we have, we need it, and we could say, look, we need to drive advertising towards that. So, but we need the data, we need information. If we have it reported to us every meeting, we can make the right decisions during the Lodgers Tax Board.
And I think the more we go, we think digitally, then, monies that we support organizations, if they're putting it into digital media as well, that we get those feedbacks as part of the agreement.
Yes, yeah. And look, this is the right time to make a drive for this, to build our digital, let's call it infrastructure. It's been underdeveloped for our town, but this is a great time to do it with the things going on with the limited money that we have. And then when we have our recovery and we have some more of our monies coming back, of course, we're not completely eliminating the non-digital items. They're still there. But right now is the right time to build out our digital things because it hasn't been done. So I agree. I think that's what we need to say going forward for people wanting assistance, is that we're wanting to make a digital play.
Virginia, the other item was your your marketing software.
Yes. So this is for the Adobe Suite, the software this is the full price. But our IT department once in a while was able to catch it on a discount to get it at like half price. But this is the full price, and it's for the software that we use to create all the billboards and graphics, anything that we need for the websites or brochures or our letterheads. Everything is created through this. The majority of our creative is created through this software program.
And I know we had this question before on the prior license, but if maybe the attorney, after we do some homework, we can see if entities, about the way the license works. If it's granted to the city, can entities or whoever monies are awarded under Lodgers Tax Board, if they could have use of this software or not? So is it with the license that you're talking about for the software, is that for as many computers underneath the city, or is it one license? Licensing on the software.
So with this one, it's for the city, and it comes with 2 licenses. Yes, it comes with two, not necessarily licenses, but computers that you can use the software system on. We did have that originally installed in Angie's. Since she's no longer here, we do have that one available. But the other one would be here in the media coordinator office.
So if somebody needs help, and say they wanted to do an ad, a digital ad, or so on, I guess the question that I need to ask is who, as far as city-wise and what we got, who would they go to for the help? Would they ask you, hey, replacing this ad, can you draw this up for us?
Actually, most organizations, businesses, whoever it is responsible for their own design and acquiring those. However, there are plenty of times when they come and they ask, and we'll assist if it's minor things. But normally, if they're creating a whole entire package, they are responsible for getting that design down on their own.
So the images and things you're talking about is what you design on the city's behalf? Is that what I'm guessing?
Right, mostly on the city's behalf, or if we're involved with the organizations, like for the FY21 grant, I'll assist with those designs. So if we do have a grant or some type of marketing partnership, then we'll assist each other with those. But other than that, then the rest of it is used for the city marketing.
Okay. In the future, my hope is that we could facilitate how we can help groups in town. Again, the hope would be we get to a overall campaign, but if they needed help doing that, and obviously these tools cost money, so we're asking for. So some of these things, tools that do it right, are expensive. So I'm hoping in the future that we have someone in place and we can feed marketing money directly there to help people get this content created, or the content that we really want to put on the app, the website, and so on. I'm hoping we can come back around to that.
Tech, I would hope that as part of an application that some of those things are considered by the organizations. I have this hesitancy that we would take business away from our local business, graphic artists or designers or marketers that we have in town. It'd be almost the same thing as us posting houses for sale when they can actually go to a realtor. You know what I mean? So we just would have to be a little careful with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just going with the idea if of providing resources if there wasn't. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Next item.
Let's see. The last two are LV First, Billboard Advertising, and New Mexico True Advertising.
On the billboard, Las Vegas First negotiated incredibly good lease rates on 5 boards, north and south of town, one on 518, and then going up towards Raton. And the city's been contracting with Las Vegas First for these boards for, I don't know, several years now. And we just don't want to lose those lease rates. But I think we have on the present contract between the city and Las Vegas First, we've got another 2 or 3 months covered. So we can come back to this at either your next special meeting or the July regular meeting. Any questions on that one?
Go ahead.
I apologize, but on those, they are covered for a couple of months, but we also got to remember we're going into the new fiscal year, so we would have to worry about getting those contracts in as well. So just something to think about.
And what was the total value of those contracts again?
So what we received a quote back on this year, which is a pretty good deal for this year for the billboards, is we get 5 billboards, the 5 that we've had. And of course, again, just a reminder that these are the ones that we have complete creative control over. And these ones, it's about $15,500 for the billboards and $15,000 for 3 vinyl changes on each of those billboards. So about $30,400 for the entire year.
Wow.
Okay. We got to make sure that we can. So that includes how many vinyl changes again?
It includes 3 vinyl changes. And it's a pretty good deal because usually when we do the boards, we'll usually put 2 of one same on one and then a different campaign on the other one. So we usually have about 2 or 3 creatives that we give to them rather than 5, and it just makes it easier on the printing too. But it is 3 vinyl changes.
Yeah, I think with the vinyl, it comes out pretty good. So I think if I did it right, so basically with the vinyl changes, they're about $500 a month per board. So that's pretty good when you also include the vinyl. I think it's within that rate. When you include that vinyl, it's pretty good because the per month actual would be even less than that per board. So that is a good deal. What we need to talk about, and I know those other concerns, is we have. So you're saying you have full creative control, so that meaning they're not New Mexico True funded. They're full creative control by us, so we don't have to go by New Mexico True guidelines.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we could make them more readable and visible and so on. Those are my concerns with investments on the billboard. Is that the artwork was critical, and on one of the locations, the ones coming outside of Albuquerque, I would suggest that we really look at a few of the locations. If they're left-hand reads and they come right after a bridge, I mean, either that billboard needs to be really popping or it's an impossible read. Billboards are also hard to track, but if people are going to start driving instead of flying, it may be a good time to capitalize on the signs. Is the deal only, it only works if we buy 5 signs at a time, or you think Lamar would be flexible?
I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll be flexible. We can ask them. And then we do, sometimes you'll come across some billboards that, you know, might be open that we can either switch or we can get additionally. But I would be more than happy to contact him and see if we can maybe do, you know, 3 or 4. Just so you know, though, 2 of these are purchased from local people, and then the other 3 are through Lamar.
Okay. So, okay, so the 2 on the local, the Lamar just makes the vinyl, and then we're paying the 2 local.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we need to have it before June then, right? Is that what I'm hearing, to fund it for the next year? When's this contract due?
Yeah, I would. I mean, the sooner the better. So we're not rushing into them, but if we could get it before July, it would be the best.
Okay. Is that something you can work on if that's feasible? I'll allow discussion. Alan, you have any thoughts on the billboard? Can we try to go for the full amount, or can we say, hey, let's talk with Lamar and maybe we pare it down for this year? It's a hit or miss because with the COVID stuff, I believe people are going to be on the road. They're anxious to get on the road, but then I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if we're shutting down again, and then those billboards would be wasted. So that's something to have a discussion about. We could chance it and go with it, but we need to have that discussion. So I'd like feedback on the board about it.
Yeah, there's no way to know that, so we just have to make a best guess. I think Virginia, it's at least worth seeing if we have options to pare it down. But again, my concern is always just the efficacy of the ad. You know, if the text isn't right, if the image isn't right, it doesn't matter how much you spend, nobody's going to be able to read it. So before we place the order, I would really like to see the ad come back to us for comment.
Also, is there any chance that the ad could be customized for what we're going through, or is that just, how long are these ads up, first of all?
So the billboards are up as long as you want, and that's the good thing about them is we do have creative control. We did discuss using these as part of the recovery process to promote it in the recovery process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, just food for thought, like one of these ads may be tailored to dealing with what's going on, you know, ensuring people, you know, be safe out there. Thank you for your, you know, thank you for your tourism. Be safe though. You know, something like that. Just throwing that out there. But I don't know if that content would be too contemporary and, you know, be outdated way too fast and wouldn't be worth it.
Right. Well, the state is working on how we do billboards and how we're going to promote each city. And so the good thing about it is that we will end up coming with some collective information that we can put on there. I mean, even if, say, we go back to fully opening, it'll still be relative to us. So it's not going to be completely like, oh, now you have 2 cases today, 3 cases. You know, it'll be more like, be safe, and no matter what time of year saying be safe, it's going to be okay. But that kind of
Be safe. We're open. Okay, how about maybe this other idea when you talk with Lamar, if we pare down, say we shave off a vinyl change, that might save a little bit there. You know, what we can do to negotiate there, and I'm sure they're working that through with other towns as well. So I think they would be in the mood of negotiating because other towns are probably making whether to be on billboards in the first place. Some towns might just say, nope, we're just not doing it. So I think they may be in the mood to negotiate. Maybe we can get an even better deal. But I guess we got to move quickly, so we want to set it up. So meeting-wise, does it matter when this decision date is now? So we need to get it in before. Is that correct? We need to have a special meeting within this month to get it through for June.
Yeah, and I believe there's some other items that you guys have to address before then too. So.
All right. Well.
The last item is the New Mexico advertising.
Okay. I'm going to sort of go down points that came up earlier through the meeting. In general, the New Mexico True advertising is a partnership with New Mexico Tourism that Las Vegas has had for 6 years now, running from 80,000 to 100 and something thousand a year, half from the city and half from tourism. And the first thing that you need to understand is that tourism basically has paused all advertising until they feel that whatever the rules are about people traveling or the feeling of safety for traveling, that no advertising that they're funding is happening. And of course, they can do this because they've got the clout to go to Facebook or TripAdvisor and say, hey, you're just going to have to wait until the time is right. So even on Las Vegas, our present program, we were supposed to have a month of digital boards in the Albuquerque airport. And what was the second thing? A month of, or 2 months of Pandora Radio this April and May. And those are paused. They're just rolling forward until tourism thinks that advertising can have results again. The second thing is, y'all, the contract or the grant contract with tourism sets up the media that we get to advertise in, or that they will share the cost of advertising in, but it does not set the content of that advertising. That can be done by, you're turning it over to Virginia. It could be done by setting up a special committee, but the content decisions when the advertising starts again is under the control of the city. The third point is that because of COVID, tourism has upped the ante to try and help communities like us recover after tourism can start again. And Virginia mentioned it before, they've got packages together that are where they will pay 2/3 if we will pay 1/3. And they've thrown out a $8,500 package that they're going to pay 100% on, where they come in and actually look at all of our tourist-related websites in town and decide what we could do as a whole community to improve our searchability on Google searches. So that can happen fairly quickly, I think. The next point is that it's a good year to apply to tourism because we are cut way back in available lodgers tax, but a lot of communities that have been meeting more regularly are cut back even more than we are. So whatever we can put to match has a good chance of getting a full grant from tourism. The next thing is that the tourism, NM True program that we're sort of looking at is well over 85% digital. And what tourism has done with these recovery packages, they're 100% digital. So like they're putting advertising on Facebook, TripAdvisor, a couple of other things that target our particular market into these packages and give us the consultant backup about how best to use them. What else do you need to know? I think that probably the most important thing that Las Vegas can get out of this is tourism, the whole department, consultants, staff, they're all focused on how can we restart tourism after COVID. And we get the benefit if we stay in partnership with them of all that expertise, which is a lot. So our problem right now is their deadline did get moved, but their grant deadline for fiscal 21 starting in July is next Friday. Not this Friday, but Friday a week. And Las Vegas First have the proposal be ready to go depending on what the city is willing to put up for match. So the request right now is that y'all put up 63,000 for match with the rollover and all the extras they're doing. That's going to generate you about $110,000 of leverage for additional advertising.
That would be 63,154. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Chuck.
It went from 70,000 to $63,154.
Right.
And why wouldn't that generate another 120,000?
Because it's leveraged by the grant that tourism will do, which is 1-to-1. They're 63, but some of their recovery packages are 2-to-1. And the 8,500 for this Google analysis is in there. And then also the county is going money for New Mexico True advertising. So it comes out to over 100,000 of leveraged money for your 63.
So within this grant, are we tied to how, yes, we would follow New Mexico True guidelines because it's there, but are we tied to any way on how this money is spent and where?
You are tied to spending your advertising within their guidelines. And we've had problems with their guidelines and have been trying to negotiate their guidelines. But what you spend it on, whether it's film, whether it's connecting to, that walkabout CCHP thing. Those are all our internal choices here. They don't deal with the content of what we advertise, just the context, what media and some requirements on the look of that advertising.
Okay.
Right, and I know what you're kind of getting at too, Kutik. So there is a selection that you choose from, and WID has a selection committee put together to make those choices. And whatever they select, and that's what will be part of the package, and then whatever content goes with it.
So then my next question is if the Lodgers Tax Board can have a review of that, because that's what we've been asking for. And it would really make these decisions easier because the Lodgers Tax Board would be within that. And so if we're wanting a push for, say, digital now.
Wood can't hear you. Can you get closer to your mic?
Okay, so I mean, we'd like to be able to be part of some of those decisions. Well, I'd like to be, anyways, at least part of the discussion. So right now, we're wanting to make a move into digital. We're wanting to have those adjustments. So I don't want this approval of match just to be a match, and then the starting entity or can just move forward and decide how to use that money going forward. I think it needs to be decisions that are recommended by the Lodgers Board. So I wanted to make it clear if that we do approve this money. I think the Lodgers Tax Board going forward should be involved in the process of what's being selected or not.
I like that.
Mr. Chairman, you were involved in that. You have been asking for digital for some time, and it sort of all came together with this go round of the grant because New Mexico tourism is also moving to digital too. So that's what I'm saying. There is very little print, and almost everything in this selection of media is digital, but we do have 1 week if you want to put a group together before the proposal is submitted, Friday a week. We have a week to look at the media choices and change them.
I actually have a copy of them, and I can forward them to the entire board so you guys can get a look at them and get an idea of what there is.
Virginia and I and this ad hoc committee have been going with it for a little while. The choices are real clear. A week is enough time for y'all to weigh in. Maybe not as an official board, but as an unofficial, yeah, that's a good selection.
Okay, I mean, Virginia, can you do that? And maybe with each section on the selections, the percentage of the total budget, you know, how much each selection was, so we can figure out what portions cost what, how much is in print, how much is in digital, so we can have that.
I'll just send you the packet. It has everything. It tells you the price of everything, where the locations are of these placements. It has everything in it.
Okay. And so does it also have all the other options as well?
Correct.
Yeah, it has everything, and it has your various recovery options, and then it has all the other options as well.
And the other thing we need to talk about then, let's just for conversation's sake, yeah, we want to go through with the New Mexico tourism program. Obviously, we got to decide how much money, or you have to decide how much money, but the time frame of getting you to approve it, having another Lodgers Tax meeting, special meeting to approve it, and then send it to council, and then also submitting the application. You know, we can submit an application because that doesn't really totally commits us to a plan, but doesn't commit us getting everything approved through council. You know, all that stuff is going to take time. Does that make sense?
I can respond to that, Bill, because we've had that happen in past cycles. if we are moving forward and we think we can get council approval by June, well, actually, even the way they've moved the dates this year by July, first payment for our match isn't due until I think the first week in August.
Okay.
So we do have more flexibility. It would be strong for the proposal to go in and everything is committed and council is approved, but that is not a requirement.
Okay.
But on the city's timing process, we got to think of when we have to submit for council and all that, because we only have technically the June meeting for them to approve to really meet those.
We only have the June meeting, so okay, if we do another special meeting, it needs to be before that June meeting.
Yeah, probably by the end of the month, I would think.
Okay, so don't we already have we already have a scheduled meeting for June, right?
No, our next meeting is in July.
Oh, yeah, Thursday. Okay. We could have we could discuss it in you and other business, but we need to have another meeting so we can get it in before that time.
That's correct.
So we'll discuss that later.
In the meantime, what I'll do is I'll get you guys all the information on
Yeah,
that.
let's get all the information on it so we can have the discussion. Hopefully for all of these items, we need to discuss before the next meeting so we can set whether these are going to be action items or not when we do it. So we for some of these, we walked through all of these, but we're going to actually have to decide whether we're going to reduce these items and whether that's worthwhile, the amounts. But for New Mexico True, that's not a possibility, right? This number can't change for the 60K.
Actually, it can. If you guys decide that there's a certain way you want to lay out the packages and it comes out to a least expensive price, then it's just about what we choose and where those placements are and the cost of each one. So there's some flexibility in there.
Okay. Well, it seems like this is the elephant, right? So I think us going through this and seeing this and what this is will kind of dictate some of our other items here with the budget that we have. Okay. Any discussion on this one?
All right. The last item is just the announcement that council approved the $26,000 for the visitor's guide, and that was calculated in the budget or the financials as being taken out.
The two items that went before mayor and council were the 26,000 for visitor guide and then the pay scale 0 to 2,500 and 25 to 5,000, with the exception of 4th of July fiestas, salute to troops, and biker rally.
Are we? So we are at new and other business now?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, we are.
Before we start new business, can I say something? Hello?
Yes.
This is Georgina. Being that I'm the $26,000 was already committed, they approved it, whatever, for the visitor's guide. What are we going to do with those things since nobody can use them? And they're paper. They're not going to go anywhere because of COVID. Was there ever a discussion about that after it left us when it went to city council? Did they discuss before they approved the money?
I don't think city council at the time knew what the future was going to be with COVID. I think
so that 26,000 is basically a waste.
I don't think it's a waste just yet, but yes, a discussion needs to be had. I think Andy and Melissa are online.
Yes.
Well, the information that I have at the current moment, it's going to be tough because distribution is limited. Now, distribution doesn't have to happen at the hotels, but it was a big. I mean, I figured we distributed a lot of guides, and if it's followed through at the visitors centers around the state, if that's followed through and saying, hey, we're going to pull our collateral there too, then that might be a big problem as far as distribution. So maybe Melissa and Andy can find out if the state has any plans for that, because they need to be concerned with that as far as distribution for the guide. But have them speak. Maybe they're delaying the guide in a way, and that's the conversation we need to have.
I mean, because we are with such a short budget and looking for next year, we should find some way of how to recoup some of this funding that's going to be we can't use it. It's not going to be, it's not going to be able to be, deliverables. That's my concern.
Can I just say something? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we certainly have delayed going to press because of this. And Georgina, respectfully, a lot of this has crossed our minds because we're kind of at the mercy of this epidemic. And so that being said, I think a lot's going to determine on where the state goes. And Alan, you're in talks with the governor. And unfortunately, with some of these states opening and there being setbacks, we don't know what we're in for. Certainly, we would not print as many if we do go to print. But if things work and everything gets better, there has been the discussion that people are going to be dying to go places, to get in their car. They won't be able to fly, and we can be a draw for the state. And the surrounding states. So this is something that I think we're really going to have to wait and see how the next few weeks unfold. Right now, we're going forward as if it's going to happen, but again, it's no holds barred. We don't know what's going to happen, so I think we're just going to have to stay in touch with each other. And I've had people like Holiday Inn, he just dropped out. He's having a terrible time. So it's in all the events that may or may not happen. We're certainly up for discussion with everyone about it. So I just, again, I think we need to wait and see where the state of New Mexico is going to go.
Right. I mean, do you think that, this guide has always been annual, right?
Yeah.
1 year thing. So, do you think there's a possibility that it could be it's just the calendar's off and it could be a combined, we're kind of combining into 21?
Yeah, absolutely. Why? I'm not going to say no to that because it is what it is. If people aren't going to come here, we've got that. If they can come here, again, it's just going to be probably more of a limited printing and distribution. We have to hope that the visitor centers are open. So, yeah, I think it could. If it has to roll into next year, it rolls into next year.
Okay, maybe in the next meeting, we can have this discussion again, and by that point, we'll have some more information here on it. It is kind of concerning for that. I still think the town. It's one thing that the town still needs, whether it's digital or print, is a visitor's guide.
Board Member Alfeld had something to say.
Georgina is right that it's not particularly useful to produce this guide right now, but I wonder if it doesn't make more sense to look at this as a fall guide instead of a spring guide, and we make the publication decision later in the summer.
Mhm.
I know that it's a problem for a lot of your advertisers, Melissa. Some may drop out, some may come in, but there may be other events that we add to it instead by rethinking the calendar. So if there's a way to push that back with your production schedules. There's also other kinds of distribution other than just, people like me and Krutik putting them in our guest rooms. For example, if you mail them to people, mail still goes out and they still go to people. We talked about having, for example, the Albuquerque Journal, using it as an insert. The big market for us is going to be in-state drive market, right? That's what's going to drive tourism in New Mexico for at least the next year. So it's going to be people coming from Albuquerque and Santa Fe, not people coming from flying in, because they won't even be able to fly in. So if we rethink all of our marketing for the fall and drive market and look at our visitor guide in that lens, maybe that will help us make it a more useful publication.
Yeah, I totally agree. And even if we don't have definite dates, on a lot of these upcoming events for next year, hopefully, everything's going to be kosher next year. We'll be having the fiestas and everything. It can just be, there'll be a website, as there always is, on the page. And if the guide is digital, there's a hyperlink and all of that. So it's not that it would be a stagnant guide. And
maybe to Krutik and Frank's point, if we have a couple months to think this through a little bit better and reposition it, maybe a big part of this guide is pointing people to our new digital site,
right,
our new digital media, and our digital film guide, and put all of those things in place of some of the events that dropped out.
Yeah, certainly we're open to that. I totally agree. And this is the year to do it. So,
right. That's good news.
So
look, even in the
meeting is in the fall, or when is your next meeting?
July.
July. Okay.
Well, we're going to have a special meeting before then.
Okay.
To make our final. And again, I mean, for this time being, I would like it for it to be this way. But I wanted to ask the board. Well, then the way I'd like the meetings to go is that we discuss items, we get to think about it, adjust it, and then we can execute it on the next meeting. I'm not a fan of having a presentation and executing it right away in the same meeting. So in a way, we might be having more special meetings in between, because I would like to have discussion before we have execution items for the next meeting.
The other thing I'd like to ask, with referring to the guide, Mr. Hendricks, have you submitted anything from the city to put into that guide?
I'd have to defer to Virginia and Chuck on that one. Have we done anything like that yet?
What was your question again, Virginia?
Have we submitted anything?
No,
outside?
we have not submitted anything yet. Andy still needs to get with Virginia on the artwork and the ads that we will be filling.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that, with the new government, the new body that we have in, and then with COVID, to make sure that whatever they're going to be putting in the guide, that it is correct, and that it's present. Whatever information we're putting in there is going to be as close as present as possible, of what's going on.
Right.
That's all my concerns were. Thank you.
Those will come from Andy. Well, Andy will have to get with Virginia, and they'll have to collaborate on whatever the artwork and whatever we're going to put on behalf of the city.
And
actually, should be a part of the contract with the deliverables. So whenever they get the contract together and the deliverables, then we'll be able to figure those out.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melissa, I mean, say this turns into a guide, a fall guide, or even a spring guide, but what's the turnaround again? Say we said, okay, this is the most current information. This is what we're going with. How long does it take you to go to print?
Oh gosh, I've been sitting on this thing for so long. Well, the printer has certainly been, they've been adjusting timelines because I only give them a date. And I don't know how busy they would be, but depending on how busy they are, once I contact them, probably within a week, it would go to press. And then that's if I'm ready, of course. And then it's about an 8-day turnaround after that to get down here delivered.
Okay, so if we needed to make a decision, it's around that 2-week range, and we could have a visitor's guide. Is that?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like right now, Crew Tech, things are, everybody's been on hold. I mean, I'm looking at empty pages. People, Sarah's not giving me an ad yet because she goes, look, I'm going to need to make payments, but she's so busy. There's a lot of just empty spaces. But it sounds like we're not ready to go yet anyway. Fine. It's just a matter of getting their ads in, figuring out how many pages, what artwork he needs or what we need to put together before it. So I think, go. I'm probably going to say 3 weeks, just because right now we don't know when to go.
It's a wait and see. So all I'd ask is before, I know we already approved the money, but maybe just make sure to have the discussion with us if you do decide, or if it.
No, we'd never go ahead with it. Sure. Yeah. No, we'll be keeping in touch. I think, again, as I said, without knowing where the state's going and knowing that it's going to be a slow go, I think Andy had to step out. He had to go get something for our washer broke down. Anyway, so I don't think he's going to be adverse to any of this or Las Vegas First. Why print something if nobody's here? If we just put it off. I can't hear.
Kritik, you're muted. Yep.
So yeah, does anybody have any other new business that they wanted to discuss? Because then I was just going to decide on a date for the next meeting. How much time do we need to get through the material so we can decide, so we can have these as action items in the meeting?
Keep in mind that we do need time for the paper to send out our part to do all the work that we need to do on behalf of staff.
Okay.
So the more time we get, the better. If you're looking at, are you looking at the end of May or are you looking at June?
I was looking at the end of May. But we can do first week of June if that's better. But that's a tighter squeeze to the council meeting as well. So it's how you would like it.
Hold on, Bill. Your mic is muted. Go ahead. Mike,
I got it. The council meetings are on the 10th and the 24th.
Right, and the 24th. Yeah.
And you have to have those submissions in a week prior to.
Yeah.
The paper only submits twice now, so you have to be careful.
Yeah. So I would say the end of May would probably be best.
The 29th.
Like the 26th, maybe. That's 2 weeks. Crew Tech, you're muted again.
Keep forgetting anytime you select something else, the space bar is not going to unmute you. Yeah, I mean, if that's agreeable with everyone, it's the 2 weeks. From now, we could set another special meeting date. The New Mexico True, I would expect that would be the chunk of it. We need to decide on the other items that are there because we can't afford it right now and how we'd like that to go forward with that and for how much money there. So I can, if there's feedback from the board before then, we can have actionable items on the next meeting and whether to fund those or not.
Can I ask something? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Now that I think about it, because if we roll over into another fiscal year, so what does that do with the monies that have been approved for the guide?
They can actually roll over into the next year, and you haven't quite created a contract yet. So when you do the contract, you can do it from that point for a year or two. Whoever is doing the contract and the director and stuff feel that it would be the right amount of time.
Yeah, that money's already been allocated, so we just need to do the contracts and the formality.
Okay, I'll let John know. And so Virginia, how should we, well, maybe I'll just send you an email and you can let me know. I'll send you an email, Virginia, and ask you what I need to know.
That's fine.
Rutek, so if we agree to the 26th, we'll have to go ahead and try to get the paper taken care of this week. So we just need to nail that down.
Right, we need to get the agenda out.
Right.
So we need to nail it down.
They won't give me the test numbers.
So what we're saying is by this, we need to get it out by this Wednesday?
Which is tomorrow. No, I'm not sure exactly what day we have to get it in, but we have to get it in so they can get it set up for the paper for next week.
Okay, that June 10th meeting, that's the working session, right? So it's really the June 4th meeting for any approval of monies, right?
Well, normally how it works is they try to get them in for the work session so that they could be approved and just be moved to the consent agenda for the regular meeting.
Right.
I mean, if we have to put it into the regular meeting, as long as the city manager and them approve it, then it could be a possibility.
Because it probably worked for them. Yeah. Sorry, it was broken up there. But I mean, if we don't have enough time and we're just rushing into a second meeting, I want to have enough time to make sure we have the correct things on the agenda and be ready to execute. So if we can buy one more week, that would be great. So we can review the stuff that you're sending us and come up with an idea or plan on how to best fund the presentations that we've had, whether we're doing it or not, or if we're doing it partial. I'd like to be able to review that. So then when we go into the meeting, we could just fire away on those and execute. So if we can do the June 24th meeting instead, we can have the meeting in the first week of June. Is that feasible?
We could look into it and see. So it would either be June 2nd, that would be your latest you could go, or depending if we can get in, then you can go a little bit later than that.
Well, we pretty much know what the agenda item's going to be, right? We're going to discuss into the New Mexico True program.
Yes, that's one item that'll be there for sure.
And I don't know if there's, that's what the special meeting is for, is to approve that so we can go ahead and start the application.
Okay.
So do we need to really, are we going to put anything else on there? I mean,
right. So that's my question. So then we're essentially saying all the discussion we've had today, we're going to table it for now and just have a special meeting for the.
Just for that decision. Yes, that's what I would do.
That works for me.
That's an easy one to move forward with.
Yeah, because what you guys did basically is, since you're using the forms now too, so you did all the presentation, you could go back in your forms, you could do your scoring notes, whatever it is. And then next meeting will be approval, disapproval of these items. And then at that point, you can go based on your notes or your scoring off of those submissions and make those final decisions. But it basically, Bill's right, it would be pretty much the same agenda, just changed to approval, disapproval.
Susie, you have something to say?
I just wanted to make sure we were supposed to present an adjusted opportunity considering the COVID-19 sanitation or gosh, I freaked out. Keeping social distancing and all of that, how we could do People's Fair. We can't get too far into July without starting to doing some advertising. So you said I wouldn't be on the agenda, that it would just be New Mexico True, and I wondered if you wanted People's Fair on the agenda.
No, I believe it'll be everybody on the agenda because they have to actually approve or disapprove whatever was submitted through those scoring sheets. Because that's the new process now.
Will I be able to present an adjusted information?
I think they will. I mean, things have changed. So I think each group would also have an adjustment there. I mean, and for me personally, with this Push Digital, some of even the way we've scored when we approved the application, I guess, that would have been a good point to have, is what percentage of what you're doing going to be digital marketing and so on. And that could have been a score within the application. But Susan, what the concern is that the budget has also changed. And so I understand that the need for marketing, but we don't, at this point, we also don't know whether events continue or not. We certainly want to try to budget for it, but that's the unknown. And then we don't know whether we have the budget for it or not. What we can go forward with is New Mexico True because of the opportunity for the match. And if that's a clear deadline, then that's something we can execute on right away. Everything else seems to be delayed. So I think it would be a good idea if somebody wanted to resubmit an application, when we do finally get to the applications, that we were able to see revised applications. So if we can get that done, I'm open to it, as long as you can all receive it and review it in time.
Thank you.
Krutik, just to be clear, I'm following Susie's lead here. So you're saying that we should probably submit an amended application within a week or two. Is that correct?
Correct.
You can, but I mean, look, the board needs to decide what we're going to do for the next meeting. If it's just going to be true and that's what we need to do, then that's what we'll do. Maybe we could, as we get more information, we could provide a guideline of when you could resubmit and the board's ready to actually review the items. I think we'll have more information, hopefully more on what our budget's going to be as we go. But I mean, you guys see the numbers there. We don't have the money to fund all these applications. Now the board is put in a position to select which ones. So I would like to have the most up-to-date information, considering things have changed. I'd rather not execute on applications and scoring on things that have changed. So yeah, I think that the things need to be resubmitted. I think let's discuss and stand by for when that deadline would be and when we'd execute on these applications.
You've reached the desk of Maria Gilbury, Utilities Director for the City of
That seem fair, Bill?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. No, I think that is the appropriate path to take. And if we need to meet again, we look at our budget, we got some wiggle room in there to support another project, then we can go ahead and get the group together again and take care of that. I mean, that's my thought.
So what will, the other portion of it is if we, I don't even know how to speak with what's going on without knowing what's going to happen. we're just waiting. So as long as the only concrete stuff that we know that we can work on, that I think we're all on the same page on, is going through with the New Mexico True or not. We just wanted a more oversight over what we could select. At least I wanted to. I don't know how Alan feels on that, but I think we got that through. That if we're on the same page for what's going to be in New Mexico True, then the board can execute that on that right away. There's not any unknowns to wait for. So yeah, I mean, I'm of the agreement that that should be the only thing for now. We'll provide guidance on how people could resubmit for their applications with any new current information, or if there's nothing new, we could keep the existing, but that could be tabled until everything's cleared.
I think we will need written guidelines from you, Krutik and Bill, so that we're all clear about it. That would be very helpful.
Right. We were on our way to establishing that. I mean, it's kind of, we're not reinventing anything. These applications were existing. We just kind of got them out of a drawer. It was part of just reestablishing order of timelines. And I mean, this whole COVID thing happened in the middle of trying to make things easier to go, having deadlines, having application, what the process is. So we were finally trying to execute on that process when we did have or do have meetings. I think that will continue. We've just, COVID's kind of put a big hamper on that. So yeah, we'll continue to provide guidance. I think with the way the staff is going now, I think on the city's end, I think you'll see a lot more guidance and on what to do and when. Hopefully, as we go through, and maybe hopefully by the regular July meeting, we can reestablish our dates and deadlines and who, what, where, on what to do as far as applying for funding or anything else.
May I say something? This is Georgina. I believe the 15th is the deadline for the governor to set some, either to extend something or to end something. So, you know, that's going to also determine how we move and how the city moves, because, you know, if things, and the 15th is just Friday. Right. So everybody be patient with us. And, you know, that's all. And I'm right there with you guys. I understand you need new guidelines, but our guidelines we don't set them. It's going to be set by the governor and COVID. So we're going to have to take our cues from them, you know, as we're moving along. So, you know, be patient. Everybody wants to get out and do something, but safety is always going to be our first move there. That's what I just wanted to say, is that I know that the 15th is that she's going to either extend the quarantine or business, you know, operations in the public. So that's all I had to say. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So, Bill, if we can, I mean, so we'll just get the message out to everyone. If the first week in June is not feasible, let me know by tomorrow, because if it's going to be the end of May, then we got to get that out tomorrow. And again, it could be a very simple agenda if that's the case. If we
we can basically put out the same agenda, just change the verbiage on it for approval, disapproval, if we want to do that. And
but if we put it on the agenda, we'll be going through the motions again. And
right.
If we're not ready to execute, we'll just kind of be wasting.
Okay. Well, then we'll just keep it to the New Mexico True campaign, recovery campaign.
Right. It's the things that we could execute on right away that we have the answers for. Now, It doesn't mean that we're not revisiting it, but it gives us the time for people, once we have the information, to resubmit an application and so on, and we can address it when we are ready to address it, not just so because it's on the agenda.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion or?
That's the end of the agenda.
That's the end of the agenda. All right.
Just one thing, Virginia, when you send that packet, are you gonna send like the ones that you guys marked that you're most interested in, or are you just gonna send us everything? I mean, are you gonna send us anything? But are you gonna are any of them gonna be marked the ones that you and Wid were most interested in looking at?
I can send you what I suggested and the package. Wid has whatever his group's selected.
Okay.
So you could select, you can send us what you recommend and the entire package of whatever you could select, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. That's perfect.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
We have a first by who?
First,
Who made the motion?
Shauna.
Gabriel, I did. Or
Gabriel, second by Shauna. Roll call. Okay, so Krutek Bakta,
Yes.
Shauna,
Yes.
Georgina,
Yes.
Mr. Alfeld.
Yes.
We have a first by Krutek. Well, I'm sorry. First by Gabe, second by Shauna. Motion passed. Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you
guys,
all.
gals.
Bye bye.
Thank you.